Welcome to the Hair for Kids. Sit back and relax as we experience life with the Rebbe in 770, stories of Chassidim, and see how the Rebbe continues to find a way to connect to us and help every Yid.
This episode is dedicated in honor of Mendel Chossid and Sora Denberg, in honor of their upcoming chasana, Daled Tammuz Tov Pei Daled, by their parents. And now, part 2 of the episode Reb Mendel Futerfas. When the communists discovered the yeshiva in Nevel, Reb Mendel continued his wanderings, and in Tofresh Tzadik 1930, he became a mashpia at the Lubavitch Yeshiva in Yekaterinoslav, Ukraine. Again, the Soviet government strengthened its effort to Rahmana litzlan wipe out religious life. All those involved in Jewish education were often arrested and executed. After a short time in Odessa, Reb Mendel returned home to Kharkov, where he began to receive different names for marriage offers.
So, who did Reb Mendel marry?
Well, first Reb Mendel somehow managed to send a letter to the Frierdiker Rebbe living in Poland, asking about those marriage offers. Reb Mendel received instructions for him to look into one particular family name from the shtetl of Karolevich. So he traveled there and stayed in that family's home.
Which family was it?
It was Reb Ben-Zion and Sarah Rubinson.
So, did a shidduch happen?
Interestingly, that Shabbos afternoon, a kiddush was held in the Rubinsons' home, and Reb Mendel verbrenged with the Chassidim late into Mitzvah Shabbos. When Reb Mendel woke up the next morning, he overheard Reb Ben-Zion Rubinson, the prospective father-in-law, tell his wife,
Sarah, I'm pleased to see that Reb Mendel didn't try to hide his Chassidische chayes. He still verbringt, although it's forbidden by the communists. It is so clear to me that he is a real Chassidische bocher. We need to do whatever it takes to arrange this shidduch with our daughter.
They introduced him to their daughter Leah, and in the summer of Tofresh Tzadik Gimel 1933, the wedding took place, and a new chapter in Reb Mendel's life began. To avoid working on Shabbos, Reb Mendel sold merchandise, proving to be a smart businessman. Most of his earnings went towards funding the Chabad underground yeshivas, as well as to support the poor and the needy.
Zadie, please tell us stories of Reb Mendel helping the poor and needy, like the fur coat story.
The fur coat story?
Yes, Hadassah and the winter coat.
Oh yes, that story. Well, in Arkovka, just outside Moscow, lived Reb Zalman and Sarah Schneerson together with their young daughter Hadassah. He was very involved in the Lubavitch secret underground yeshivas. They were so poor that they couldn't afford a warm coat for Hadassah, so never she stayed home during the winter. But when Reb Mendel heard of this situation, immediately Wait, let's go back to that time as Reb Mendel is walking over to Reb Zalman Schneerson's house. Here's Reb Zalman Schneerson's home.
Who's there?
Mendel Futerfas with the package.
A package? 1 minute. Hello, Reb Mendel.
Hello, Reb Zalman. I have a package.
What's in the package?
It's a pretty fur coat for your daughter Hadassah.
Wow. Reb Mendel, thank you. How did you get this?
It doesn't matter. Reb Yid, Baruch Hashem, she now has a coat.
Hadassah, come to the front door. There's a package for you.
For me? I'm coming!
Here, open it.
Wow, a fur coat! Baruch Hashem, I can now leave the house this winter to go to shul and to visit my friends.
Yes, Baruch Hashem.
Hadassah wore that coat for years, always remembering the kindness of the legendary Chossid, Reb Mendel.
Zadie, what's that story about Reb Mendel and burying coins in his backyard?
Burying coins? Oh, yes. But first, an introduction. Reb Mendel was responsible for raising money for both the upkeep of the underground secret yeshivas and for the families of those Chassidim who were being put in prison for spreading Yiddishkeit. As Reb Mendel was very successful in his business dealings, he made a lot of profit. However, he never kept even 1 ruble for himself. Every last penny was to support Tomchei Temimim.
Zadie, what about the story of the buried coins?
Oh, yes. Once in a conversation Reb Mendel had with his partner,
Reb Mendel, I'm advising you to set aside and keep 10% of your money you get, just in case, chas v'shalom, financially things get worse. You'll have something to fall back on.
Good idea. I'll bury a few coins in my backyard so that I'll have it saved somewhere, just in case.
that night, Reb Mendel couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned in his bed. What?
The Bocherim are starving for bread right now.
And I'm burying coins in my backyard? I can't believe I did that. I'll go right now to dig up the coins and give them to the Chossid taking care of the yeshiva Bocherim. And then I'll go back to sleep for what's left of the night.
Wow, Zadie, these stories of Reb Mendel are so special.
Yep, he truly was an incredible Chossid with a huge heart. Now to continue. During World War II, Reb Mendel fled with his family to Samarkand, Uzbekistan, where he became the administrator of both the underground Lubavitch Yeshiva and the whole Cheder system. There, once again, he enjoyed Farbrengen, full with Torah inspiration and soul-stirring nigunim.
Zadie, what's that famous story about Reb Mendel and the amazing recovery of his son Reb Beryl?
Oh, that one, yes. That story is about Reb Mendel's emunah and bitochen and was told by the famous Chossid Rebbe Chaim. Let's go back in time as Rebbe Chaim is walking on a wet, muddy road.
Oi, Reb Mendel's son Shalom Ber is not feeling well. I must go visit Reb Mendel to see how he's feeling. Ah, here's Reb Mendel's house.
Come in.
Oh, hello, doctor. How is Mendel's son Beryl doing?
Unfortunately, Beryl is really not doing well. So Rabbi Chaim, please leave. He's too sick to receive visitors.
Okay, doctor. I'll step outside and watch Reb Mendel from the window. Oh, Reb Mendel is leaning over a chair, crying bitterly. He's saying something. I'll go closer. Oy, I hear Reb Mendel davening and pleading to the Eibishter.
Ribono shel olam, Hashem, have pity on my son Beryl. Don't save him the schus of my Torah study, which I have not even begun to grasp. Don't save him in the schus of my davening, which I have never said mit kavona, but save him in the schus of the Farbrengens I attended, because I never left in the middle of a Chassidische Farbrengen.
So did his son Reb Beryl survive that illness?
Yes, not long after, and to the doctor's amazement, Baruch Hashem, Beryl recovered. In the beginning of Chossid, 1939, the Nazis Yamach Shimon invaded Russia. Thousands of refugees fled east, deep into Russia's Asian territories to the city of Samarkand. Among them were many Lubavitcher Hasidim, including Reb Mendel. When he arrived there, once again, he began building a network of chadorim for young children and yeshivas for bocharim. The chadorim and yeshivas survived the difficulties of wartime and lasted until Tovshin Hey 1945. Then Reb Mendel received a phone call from a Chossid. Hello?
Reb Mendel, did you hear the latest news?
What news?
Well, now that the Second World War is over, the Soviet government wants all the Polish refugees to leave the Soviet Union and go back to Poland on condition that they can prove that they were once Polish citizens and lived in Poland.
What kind of proof do they need?
A passport.
A Polish passport?
Yes.
Zalman, I have an idea.
Go ahead, tell me.
Not over the phone. I'll tell you about it tomorrow in shul. Seid gesund.
You too.
The next day, they meet in the shul before davening.
Reb Mendel, what's your idea?
Follow me downstairs. Okay, this is my idea. The information you told me yesterday that the Soviet government wants all the Polish refugees to leave the Soviet Union, I see this as an amazing opportunity to help many Yidden escape this terrible Soviet-Russian land.
So what's your plan?
Okay, all we have to do is to make forged false Polish passports for Hasidim here in Russia, and this will help them escape to Poland.
Ah, now I understand. Okay, I'm in. It's gewaldig. Let's begin.
Let me make it very clear to you. This has to be done in secret. It is extremely risky because if the Soviet communists catch us, we could be accused of going against the Soviet government, one of the worst offenses, and would be sentenced to the most terrible punishment, Rahman al-Islam.
Okay, Reb Mendel, it's going to stay top secret.
Reb Mendel traveled from Samarkand to Lvov and worked day and night in the Russian city of Lvov, which was right next to the border of Poland. He printed false Polish passports to help thousands of Hasidim pretending to be Polish citizens and to be able to exit Russia.
That's huge, Messias Nefesh. Did his family stay with him?
Good question. Let's go back in time to find that out. Baruch Hashem, I placed my wife and children on a train traveling to Poland, leaving the Soviet Union. As for myself, I will stay behind here in Russia and will not leave until the last Chossid exits this cursed country. Hundreds of families, Baruch Hashem, were saved because of Reb Mendel's work. But unfortunately, the Russian NKVD secret police of the Communist Party found out about Reb Mendel's operation and it was shut down. Passports were no longer available, and many Hasidim involved in the operation were arrested. Reb Mendel thought to himself, "Oy, my days as a free man are not going to last much longer. I'll grab a few last forged passports, board the train together with a few more Hasidim, and travel over the border to Poland and be free." However, this happened. But first, let's go back to the time Reb Mendel is sitting on the train going to Poland. Soon the train will be crossing the border into Poland. I'll finally leave Russia. Suddenly, armed KGB guards bust down the door and marched into the train's cabin.
Stop the train now! Remove these Hasidim, drag them to the offices of the secret police. where they will be interrogated.
Oy, Hashem Yerachem, Hashem save me. I'm not saying Hashem, sorry, Reb Mendel's interrogations included torture, Rahman al-Islam. The interrogations lasted for a full 3 months. During all that time, Reb Mendel held his cool, saying, I will never ever reveal to my interrogators any information that will harm any Chassidim. Let's go into that interrogation room.
Futerfas, why did you do it?
Do what?
To forge fake passports to help Jews escape the Soviet Union,
Oh, that! Everything I did was to be able to see the Rebbe. I cannot live without the Rebbe.
Aha!
So, I was simply trying to travel to my Rebbe in America. Let me tell you something. If my Rebbe was in the Soviet Union, I would come here from America, even if it was illegal.
Be the NKVD secret Russian police are not convinced of your explanation. It does not satisfy us. So,
What
did you say? Okay. Interrogation over. Futerfas, go back to your cell.
On Erev Lag Baima, Tov Shin Zayin, 1947, Reb Mendel was sentenced to serve 8 years in the Russian Gulag prisons, the network of forced labor camps in Siberia. After he was brought back to his cell, he remembered what the Frierdiker Rebbe once said.
All Hasidim in the Russian prisons, when they will think about me, I will think about them.
I'm now standing in the corner of my cell. I'll close my eyes and imagine that I'm first washing Negelwasser before going into Yechidus. Now I'm imagining that I'm writing upon Dear Rebbe. Now to go into Yechidus. I am now standing in Yechidus before the Frierdiker Rebbe. Rebbe, my situation is terrible. I'm asking the Rebbe for a bracha to get out of prison. Years later, after Reb Mendel was released and joined his family in London, let's go back to the time he arrives. As his wife says,
Reb Mendel, while you were in prison, we received a telegram.
A telegram? From who?
From the Frierdiker Rebbe.
When did you receive this telegram?
In Tafshin Zayin, 1947.
I've just realized that you received this telegram on the very same day
that I closed my eyes and imagined that I was standing in Yechidus before the Frierdiker Rebbe, describing my terrible situation.
Please show me the telegram. Wow, the telegram reads,
The pun was received.
I can't believe it. The Rebbe was truly thinking about me when I was thinking about him.
So now let's go back to when he arrived in prison after the many months of interrogation. Reb Mendel said to himself, there are 2 main issues I have to deal with.
Eating kosher and keeping Shabbos. Kosher food is less of a problem. I just won't eat. However, not working on Shabbos will demand me to refuse what they ask me to do and go on Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice.
I am firm and strong. Shabbos is sacred. It's a holy day. I will not work like the other prisoners, whatever will happen to me. Let's go back to the time Reb Mendel is being given his first work job assignment.
Futerfas! Come over here. Get your first assignment job.
I'm letting you know in advance that I do not work on Shabbos. You can kill me or do whatever you want with me, but I will not work on Shabbos. Baruch Hashem, his words were surprisingly fulfilled. He was never required to work on the holy day of Shabbos. They saw how determined he was, and they surprisingly respected that. However, when it came to keeping kosher, I was constantly tested. There were times when I felt that I would pass away from hunger, but I kept saying to myself, I will never allow non-kosher treifas to enter my mouth. In prison, sometimes food was scarce, and many prisoners were dying of hunger. One day, barrels of pickled fish arrived. The fish were kosher, but the wooden barrels were smeared with fat. Let's go live back to that time.
Prisoners! Food has arrived! Barrels of pickled fish! Feast yourselves!
Wait, I don't know what kind of fat this is. It may not be kosher. Let me think this over. On one hand, the fish are kosher, so why should I worry about the oil? On the other hand, non-kosher oil does affect the kashrus of everything in the pot, and the fish might therefore be treif. On the other hand, it was a question of pikuach nefesh. I'm in danger of dying from hunger, and if someone starves themselves to death, our sages tell us that they'll have no place in the world to come. I'm just remembering the story of the Alter Rebbe when he was in prison. Let's go back to the time the Alter Rebbe is sitting in prison.
Prisoner, here's your food. Eat this non-kosher food. No, I refuse to eat something that is not kosher. If you do not eat the food, you will die. And I actually know the Jewish law that a Jew who starves himself to death will not merit the world to come. So eat the food. Prison guard, I will not eat non-kosher food. It is better for me to remain clean of treifas, even though I will not merit the world to come. Baruch Hashem.
Let's go back to Reb Mendel and the barrel of fish.
Well, although I'm not on the level of the Rebbe, I decided not to eat the questionable fish.
Reb Mendel never ate the treifa non-kosher food, and he survived to tell this story.
Wow, Sadie, I will always make sure that everything I eat is 100% kosher.
Wow, you give me so much Chassidish nachas. The end of part 2 of this episode. Tune in and listen to part 3 of this episode coming up. Thank you for listening to The Hair for Kids. Make sure to tell your friends about us and stay tuned for another fascinating episode at thehair.org/kids.